Um, as you know, my husband and my son Adam and I took off to go to Europe, and we spent almost a month, not quite a month, a little over 3 weeks. And it was not a mission trip per se, but being that Robert wasn't asked to speak this time, he did speak when we went last fall. But he did speak in Bible class in Stuttgart, but it was a different kind of a trip for us. It was a vacation. But whether on vacation or wherever we go, we are to do all to the glory of God, right? And Robert talked about that this morning. And so we're very intentional. We've become very intentional on our trips before we take off. And when your minds aren't burdened with everyday stuff, you can just kind of relax a little bit. Your mind's freed up to spend more time with God. And we were very intentional. We had more time to pray together. We had more time to read Scripture. We listened to Scripture as we were driving down the road. We listened to songs and sang. We listened to several different inspirational novels, and we had lots of great discussions as we traveled. But we said out loud to each other before we left, and we do this before we take off on a trip, that we really, really wanted to carry Christ with us on our journey, and we wanted to carry the joy of being in Christ on our journey to every person that we met. And we said out loud, and you have to say this out loud, we have to say it out loud, that we are going to be thankful in all circumstances. Because everybody knows when you travel, you run into all kinds of things that are not always very easy. And it can be easy to get into that pattern of negativity. So we said out loud to each other, we are going to be joyful in all circumstances, and we are not allowed to complain. And we looked for opportunities while we were traveling to serve and to carry Christ's love, and always connected with wherever we were with the local church. And instead of being exhausted on the trip, we found ourselves really filled up. We found ourselves full of joy and full of energy as we carried Christ's love. And really, when you start thinking like that, and you have to really be intentional to shift your thoughts in that direction, when you see things from a different perspective, you see things from a different point of view, and then the things that maybe would have normally really bugged you don't bother you as much. Things like sitting in an airport for 9 hours on our luggage waiting and having a 48-hour trip home, which you can ask me about later, or getting to the place where we were supposed to stay and finding out we were going to be sharing our one bathroom with 6 girls. And things that could get very frustrating, but we had joy in our hearts, and we shifted gears, and we got to know those girls, and we have new relationships because of it, and the whole world looks different through the eyes of Christ, don't they? And God blessed us so richly on this trip, and I want, if it's okay with you all, to indulge me a bit. This is really different than I've ever done, and I don't want it to be like, okay, here's my vacation, I'm going to share it with you. But I want to share the trip. I want to share this incredible trip that God gave us. And we started off, we started off in Anchorage, went over the pole into Frankfurt, and then got on a speed train and went into Stuttgart, Germany, and Robert's brother lives there, so that was kind of our hub in Germany. Our son Isaac, who's doing mission work in Northern Ireland, got on a airplane in Belfast. He flew into Berlin, and then he took a train, and we all met up in Stuttgart. And I don't know if you remember weeks ago when we were talking about the sovereignty of God, and I was talking about Nebuchadnezzar and talking about the beautiful wall on the Ishtar gate that I showed you pictures of. That has been assembled in a museum in Berlin. And when Robert heard he was in Berlin, he's like, you got to go see the Ishtar gate. You've got to go. And he tried. He wasn't going to be able to make it in time before the museum closed. But boy, it was just so exciting thinking we were so close. Anyway, we all met up in Stuttgart, and Isaac looked great. His hairline has diminished a little bit. He looks older. But he's doing great. And we took off the next day for adventures in the Stuttgart area. The boys really wanted to go to an art museum, and one of our there were so many beautiful things. One of our favorites was Rembrandt's Apostle Paul. And it's interesting as you go through these old, some of these paintings are from the, 1300s, and almost every one of them depicted some Bible story. I mean, you just go through and you're just walking through the Bible and these great artists' pictures. But this one we just really, really particularly love. We took the boys, we know Robert and I were stationed in Germany back in the 80s, and one of our favorite towns is Rothenburg, which is a medieval town that's totally walled, and we wanted to take our second family, our boys, back to some of these places. So we took them to Rothenburg, and this is the first time I'd ever been there without a baby. I've always had babies. We even went back in 2002, and I had baby Adam. So I got to go with them to explore the walls, which I had never been able to do before. And we went. We spent a lot of time going through these walls of the city and walking the streets. Beautiful, beautiful place. And it was raining on us. It rained on us almost everywhere we went, but that didn't even matter. It was just absolutely gorgeous. The gardens were gorgeous, and as I'm walking through these gardens, I kept thinking of Narnia. And they even had like a lamp post out there, and I was like, wow, this looks like Narnia. So then, as we were laying out our schedule for that week, we told the boys one of the places we really wanted to take them was to Strasbourg, France, which is, as you'll see on this, I don't know if you can see it at all, but Strasbourg and Stuttgart, you see how close they are, France and to the border. So when we said that, Isaac said, oh, I have a friend in Strasbourg. Can we meet up with her? I'm thinking, what are the chances of that? And this girl was a classmate of his in AIM who was back home. And so we met up with her family, went to her house. Her father is the minister there. He's the preacher there in Strasbourg. And we had delightful conversations. We went out to eat, and he had this gorgeous, gorgeous Belgian accent, because I think he was originally from Belgium. And we explored the streets of the city together, and there's this big, just incredibly gorgeous cathedral in the middle of the city that just towers. And I looked it up, and it said that it was the tallest building in the world from 1647 to 1874. It's this huge place. And so he gave us a personal tour from somebody who lived there and really knew the place. And we went inside, and it's just incredible. And oh, by the way, I took more than 1,000 pictures. It was really not of this place, but of our entire trip. So it was really hard to just pick out a few to show you guys. But he gave us, and this was a video that I had to stop, because I didn't have a still picture of this, and I wish I could play the videos for you, but he's describing in each one of these little sculptures, and these are all over the building, but each one depicts a different Bible story, and it starts in the garden with creation, and it goes through, and he's pointing out and telling us, as we're looking at this, we go at the story of the flood and story of the Tower of Babel and Abraham killing, with the knife over Isaac, and he's just going through and he's just pointing out, and we're standing there and we're just absolutely in awe of this. And there's the scene behind us as we're looking at this cathedral, and he's telling us Bible story after Bible story, and it was just enthralling. Well, being that we were with somebody who was from the area, he told us, okay, if you got a little bit of time, you need to drive about an hour north, and he told us about this castle. And we went and explored this castle. It was from the 1400s. It had been totally restored back to its original condition. And I have two boys with me, and I tell you what, they really came to life as we went to these places. And I kept trying to imagine what life would have been like for these people, trying to transport myself back into an era, of time when these people lived. Well, a few days later, Mother's Day, we went to church, and then we left church and we drove south, and we went to this other, I call it a cathedral. If they said, no, this is not a cathedral because no bishop has ever been seated there, whatever that means, they called it a minster. But this still has the tallest steeple in the world, and it's 530 feet tall. And the boys were like, we want to climb to the tippy top. And when you get to the tip, there's 768 steps. And when you get to the tippy top, there's only room for one person. I mean, it's just... And so they climbed, and Robert and I stayed down, and we explored. And over here, it was so fascinating because it was really cold in there. It was really, really cold, and I just could not get warm. And this was Sunday, and there were people lined up, big crowds of people lined up, and they had babies, and they were baptizing their babies, just one after the next, just stepping up, and then they were doing a little service. And it was an assembly, and I don't know if it was because it was Mother's Day or what, but we explored around and found back in the back corner there was a room, and it had heat in it, and there was a service going on. It was a church service, and so I thought, okay, the boys are going to be up there a while. Come on, Robert, let's go in here. And I thought it would be really fascinating anyway to go into the church. It was a Catholic service, and we'd already been to church that morning, and we had headed south. Anyway, we walked in, and I wasn't even in there 10 seconds, and a man walks up in German and tells me, "Ouch, this is for members only." I was not allowed in the door, so we had to go back out and shiver. And then I don't have the picture on me, but we have a picture of, we called to see where they were, and Adam stuck his hand out. So we have a picture of him way up there, at the top of the steeple with his hand out. We drove on down south further. We went through this castle called Neuschwanstein, and this is a castle that I think Disney mimics for Cinderella and all that. And then a few days later, we were on our way back over to where Isaac lived, and Kayla, raise your hand. For those of you who don't know Kayla lived in Kuenning and did what Isaac is doing now several years ago. So she did the mission work. So told Kayla, you need to come in and maybe you can add something to this. But if you can see at the tip, I think there's a thing, at the tippy top, that's Kuenning. Am I saying it right? Kuenning. And one thing that I didn't know before Isaac went was, you see this white part right here, that's called Northern Ireland, and this part right here is called Ireland. They are two different countries, and I did not know that. I just thought it was Northern Ireland. But Northern Ireland is part of the United Kingdom. It is considered a country, but it is part of the United Kingdom. It uses different money. So the Northern Ireland uses the pounds, and Ireland uses euros. So as soon as you go across the border, you have to use different money. They don't take each other's money. Very interesting. So we got in a plane and we flew to Belfast, and it took us quite a while, but we ended up with our rental car. We had to get a rental car that would let us drive into Ireland, and that wasn't easy to do. They don't like you to do that. And of course, you can see the steering wheel's on the right side, and we had to drive on the left side of the road, and it was a standard, and you have to shift with your left hand. And Robert did brilliantly. He really did brilliantly. When we got to Kuenning, which is where Isaac lives and where he's working, this is the first. We parked our car and ran to this place right here. It's called St. Patrick's, but this was just kind of a bonus surprise when we got there. The Lubbock Christian University Choir was holding a concert here, and so these are members of the church who were in there holding a concert, and we walked into the concert, and it was just breathtakingly beautiful, physically beautiful, but the singing was just absolutely and I do have some videos. Like I said, I don't really know how to put that up there, but so that was the first thing when we got into Isaac's home where he lives, and this is just right in the middle of town, this gorgeous place. First thing we did was to go and hear this choir, and then afterwards, and we were pretty obviously tired, so we dropped Isaac and Adam off at their apartment, and we went back and we went to, this is Bert and Doreen, and this is the minister there at the church in Kuenning, and also Isaac's coordinators. for what he's doing in his work there. And he's just a wonderful, wonderful couple, wonderful man, just very godly couple, just very heart-centered and God-centered. And he's alone. He's very alone there. I couldn't get over how much he was having to do as far as there's no other churches around. And I asked him when we were traveling down through Ireland, okay, we want to connect up with the church. Where's the church so that we can connect up with it? And he said there's only the church in Dublin that he really knew about. And I mean, like, we're talking about these two countries and like a church in each one. It was just, the church is very, very small there. And there may be others that we don't know about. And I'm not saying that's it, but we don't know of any. And anyway, we drove, and this is Isaac's teammates, and also there's a guy here from Oklahoma Christian who's doing a internship. So those are the guys that are working there. You guys know how much I love sheep. I have to show you. This is since I couldn't bring back a sheep. And there is a sheep in every corner of every turn of the car. I had to bring back this. This is my little keepsake. So then up the road from where Isaac lives is this gorgeous castle called the Dunluce. Am I saying it right? Dunluce Castle. And we explored that a little bit. And then this is some more pictures from it. And then we went just up the road a little bit further. This is called the Giant's Causeway. And it's an ancient... they don't obviously, they put ages on it, they don't know, but it was from a volcanic eruption. These rocks came up out of the ground, and they're all hexagon shaped. It's just like you stand there and with your mouth hanging open going, this is just the most incredible thing I have ever seen in my life. They say there are like 40,000 of these rocks that came up out of the ground. It's just absolutely incredible.
And people think there is no God.
Yes. Yeah, and we said that a lot on this trip. We said that often on this trip. Look at God's handiwork. Isn't God awesome? Isn't he awesome? And so, again, we connected up with Isaac. He took us down the road, and I love trees. The trees were absolutely incredible. Some of them were a little weird. We went to this place. It's called the Black Hedges, and it was just stunning, just stunning. And look at if you look down right there, you see people. See, you see the size of this. It's just absolutely stunning. We went around constantly with our mouth hanging open, and I drove my boys crazy because I kept saying, wow, look at this is incredible, wow. They're like, they got to where they were rolling their eyes at me, but I don't know if it's my age or what, but boy, do I ever appreciate every single thing. Sunday morning was a special joy because the choir was there, and they met and had church service with us there, and so the singing in this was like spectacular. It was just spectacular. One of the men actually gave the lesson and in this beautiful accent, and it was just a fabulous lesson. We were so touched by the lesson. And then and Sunday evening, Isaac was so excited because he got to lead singing, and the choir was in the audience, and he's like, I'm in heaven. And I do have some videos of the singing, and it was really, really incredible. So, like I said before, this is Northern Ireland. We took off, and we went down into Ireland itself. And I don't know where I'm at now. Where am I at? And we were letting Isaac kind of guide the way and tell us, because just kind of to honor him, and also because, we weren't sure where we wanted to go. But he said, I really want to show you church camp. I really, really, really want to show you church camp. This is where we spent most of the summer when I first got here, and I like church camp. I mean, but I've seen church camp, and I'm like, I want to see Ireland. I don't want to see church camp. But I kept my mouth shut, and I was very joyful, and I said, sure, Isaac, we can go see church camp, as I'm thinking I want to go see Ireland. Well, was I ever surprised. I have never been so surprised in my life. This is the entrance to church camp. And this is a national park that they let them use as their church camp. And it is really beyond, I'm just going to kind of flip through these photos because it's just beyond.
Can I turn the lights out?
Sure.
So that
Yeah, sure.
they can see how really green it is?
Yeah, it is extremely green. Sure. I may not be able to read, but, well, that's all right. That's okay. Turn them out.
I thought I did. What?
There you go. Okay, it is very green. It's very gorgeous. And so, let me just flip through pictures of this place.
Wow.
And I have hundreds of pictures of this place. Yeah.
Okay,
We're
when is
looking-
Vacation Bible School there?
I know. And we have spring, the flowers were blooming, they were just absolutely gorgeous.
They smell good.
Yes, just wonderful.
Everything smells good around.
Some of these structures, they had little plaques on them. They were built in 17 something by so and so, you know. I don't, So one of these areas, we're standing on a bridge. We're standing on this bridge, and when Isaac first got there, he sent us a video of him jumping off this bridge, and I'm just like, I don't want to look. I don't want to look. Anyway, what an awesome place. Here I was saying, I don't really want to take this detour, and I'm there going, I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave. I could just stay here. This place is so beautiful. So we took off and went on south around the coastline and just ran into, we were just driving by ruins. There's just ruins everywhere, and obviously couldn't stop at all, but we stopped at several of the ruins. I don't know if you have noticed or not in these pictures, but my son, every time we turn around, he was up on top of some precarious place. And this thing right here, there's like a, I don't know, 50-foot drop on the other side of it, and it was constant. And he was just so alive and so excited. But I said, Adam, I do not want to spend the rest of our time in the hospital in the ER somewhere. Would you please come down? So he was just always shimming up onto something. We would drive along, and there would be just castles and cows and sheep and sheep. I was walking across this field. My husband went around a corner. We stopped, and we were going through, looking at this. I think it was the ruins of an old cathedral, and he went around the corner and goes, Carol! So I go over there, and I spent my time with the sheep because I could actually walk right up to them. And so gorgeous. It was so gorgeous. And I found myself, singing. I started singing, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," and quoting it and just talking to God and just thinking about our sovereign God and how He is our shepherd, and just looking at these peaceful, beautiful sheep. They were singing with me. Yeah, I led the sheep choir, and we. If I turn around, this is what's behind me. Is these ruins. The ruins are back there. We went on down to the famous Blarney Castle, and this thing. I'll just show you a couple pictures. And up there, you can climb the steps and go up there.
How did you avoid the crowds?
We were there in May. We were there before the crowds came. It was just the
I
right.
was there in May too. and the
Really?
line was-
There we had no line. We had signs saying, it's 90 minutes from here. We had none. We had no waits. No.
Wow.
Anyway, we climbed this. Did you go on this trip that you just went on? Did you go here on this trip?
End of April.
Okay, this year?
April or May.
Okay. Wow. Anyway, and then of course there's Adam again up on some, but the stairs wound and we went up to the top and there we are up on top. It was amazing. I was so glad they had a guardrail up there because it's just a sheer drop inside on both sides. He would have taken me with him. We ran. Pardon me?
Is that where Joel gets it?
I don't know. So I love the trees. I just love the trees, and this tree just stopped me in my tracks. I've never seen anything like it ever. It was just crazy. It was crazy beautiful. Look at this thing. So the trees, the flowers. And then, like I said, I told you I have hundreds and hundreds, but I'm just showing you some highlights. But we went to what's called the Cliffs of Moher, and I want you to see right here, those are little itty bitty tiny people up there. To just give you some kind of a perspective on this. And many of the places we went, they talked about the different movies that were filmed in a lot of these different places. But I sat there and it was so gorgeous, and like within a couple of minutes the fog rolled in and it was gone. I mean, it was just, I was thankful that we got to see it at all. But I keep thinking about the scripture where Jesus said in Luke 19, he said, if the people are silent, the rocks will cry out. And the rocks cried out, I mean loudly, in huge volumes, that we have a God. We have an awesome God that created all of this. It was just, keeping that perspective in mind and keeping the thankful heart and the carrying Christ with you and seeing things from that perspective. Every little tiny thing was awe-inspiring. And that's why I took 1,000 photographs. The other reason I took 1,000 photographs is because years ago when I used to go to Germany, when we lived there, I had to pay for my film and developing, and I didn't have to this time. So as we were walking through the park, I ran into this rock, and I just stopped in my tracks. This was actually the where they have their church camp, but it's a national park, and it says, "Stop, look around, praise the name of the one of Him who made it all." And I just thought, how wonderful to have that reminder that God's creation is incredible, and we have this awesome and glorious God that to be reminded. You almost didn't have to be reminded, but maybe some people do, to be reminded of this, that God, our awesome God, made this place. So all in all, I guess this is my last one. It was an incredible trip. If you want to put the lights back on, you can.
You were so happy.
I hope that was okay with you, that I used Bible class time to do this. I've never done anything like that before. And I think that everywhere we go, even to the grocery store, is a mission trip. I mean, we are always on a mission for Christ. We're always on a mission to show the people around us, because you when you travel and you're on a plane with hundreds of people, and you're in airports with hundreds of people, and you go places in big cities with hundreds of people, you look around at all the lost souls. There's a lot of lost souls out there. There's a lot of people who are groping and looking for God, some people who don't care. But it really reminds you, it just reminds you of a lot of things. It reminds you of the needs of the people around us, and it makes you stop and think, okay, I live in a small town, but there's people around me in my town. There's people around us that need God, and I I think that sometimes these trips put things back into perspective again, and you see this huge, big world that God made, and so green, so beautiful. But there's hurting people everywhere that need God, and we are the messenger. We are to take God to the lost world, and so. Stopping and being intentional with, and it was nice to be in a country where we could talk to people, because I've been places where I couldn't speak the language, but to be in and the Irish people, Northern Ireland and Ireland, are very gracious, friendly folks. You walk into stores and it was like they're your long lost friend, and they'll just talk your ear off. So you just seem like you have an open door everywhere you go, and being intentional to show Christ in your life, and saying, we're here visiting my son, he's doing mission work, and he's working with the church, and it's like you have an open door everywhere you go to tell people why you're there. And Ireland's a country that's been torn up for years and years and years because of religious fighting, and so the work there is painfully difficult, because people either want nothing to do with religion or look at they have their own and they don't talk to me. It's very, very, the religion has divided that place. Kayla, can you think of anything you want to add after living there?
I was just going to add, when you're talking about how many churches are there in Galway, there's a Church of Christ there, and I went one Sunday. They were meeting in a school, and there were 7 people.
Yeah, churches, and I feel for the people that are working there for a lot of different reasons, and I really saw a lot of what we were doing is to go and encourage the local church, encourage. I think he's doing a really wonderful work. He's really out in the community, and the choir. They invited the choir to come, the Christian choir, whatever you want to call it, Christian college. University choir. Anyway, they invited them to come, and then, they invited people on the streets and all that. Well, that following Sunday, there was a mother and daughter who had been invited on the streets, who had come and came that following Sunday, and it was so wonderful to see that little church surround them, and they were feeling very, very grateful and very loved, and they said, "Oh, we found a church. So that was just really exciting to be a part of that, and to see, because their outreach is very difficult there. It's very, very difficult in that kind of a community. But I know that Isaac and his team are really encouraging that beautiful little congregation. They're just beautiful group of people. They've all adopted them, and they're also out working and busy in the community. So that's basically all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
Did you get to visit the Dublin church?
We did not, and we really wanted to, but we really flew through Dublin. We did not get time to see. We didn't even hardly stop there. We barely went through it. So, yeah.
How much was gas over there?
It was like $6. Was that a liter or a gallon? Liter. It was $6. It came to $6 a gallon because it was like almost $2 a liter. Yeah, something, whatever. Yeah, it was real expensive. It was very expensive.
One of the churches I went in was a big cathedral thing, and they had this thing that was a circle, and it had all these fountains coming out of it. So I asked one of these guys that was standing there, I said, "What is this?" And he goes, "Oh, that's our baptismal." And I went, "Oh, you baptized by immersion?" Because that's just, it was big enough you could put a bunch of people in there baptizing. Anyway, and he went, "Oh, no. You know what that would do to the water?" I am serious. That's what he said.
It's interesting.
And he said, no, we hold the babies, and we just take a little water off of the fountain and we sprinkle them. Oh, no, that would just make the water really dirty.
Just like going into that church service and being told to leave because it was for members only. I mean, the perspective is just so foreign to our thinking. It's so foreign how we're just like wanting everybody to come in. Yes?
Okay. Overseas, do they drink water or do they drink something other than water?
What a question.
Some places, they cannot drink the water.
They almost always drink bottled water. I mean, yeah. They always tell you not to drink the faucet water, and we drank bottled water everywhere we went. But they drank other things too.
I know that. I was just thinking
Yeah.
about the water situation.
Yeah, we stayed in B&Bs when we went down south, and so we got to stay in people's homes, and that's even more, that's exciting too, because you know, get to meet you're literally staying in some people's bedrooms and stuff, you know, and so that was really fascinating too. We met some really interesting people as we traveled all through this.
My stepson was over in Germany in the army, and he drank, you know. So he went in and tried to ask for an ice cold beer. They gave him an ice cream and a beer. Because they didn't have cold beer. at that time.
They drink warm drinks. Yeah, they do.
And I bet he was eating, so they knew him as the American who ordered the ice cream and a beer.
Well, thank you all. And next week I'm going to get back on track talking about the glory of God. As a matter of fact, I was hoping to kind of get into it in this lesson and move on to glory, but we didn't get to do that. But we'll do that next week. But I have to tell you that, that I've been doing the nature of God and kind of using Our God is Awesome book as a template to do these lessons. And Hurt just told me before class that he goes, Lauren's doing that over there, and I'm like, So that's what he's doing today, and I guess that's what he did while I was gone. So he's using the exact same book as the template. So I told you he liked the book. I said it would be really nice if maybe they recorded, or maybe we should just all go over there. I don't know, but anyway, thank you all so much. Appreciate it.